You know that feeling? You're doing all the right things, saving, investing, but it just feels like you're stuck in first gear. Well, what if I told you that building real wealth isn't this slow, boring climb? It's actually a series of massive tipping points. There are 3 exact net worth milestones where everything just clicks, and your money starts working way harder than you ever could. Let's get into it.
All right, so when you picture getting rich, what do you see? Is it just this straight, predictable line going up and up? You save $1, your net worth goes up $1. It seems simple, right? But here's the thing. That idea is completely, totally wrong. And honestly, this one little misunderstanding is probably why so many people just give up way too early.
Okay, so on one side, you've got the myth, this boring, linear path. But the reality is so much more exciting. It's an exponential snowball. Think about it. When a snowball starts rolling down a huge mountain, it's tiny, it's slow, you barely notice it. But as it keeps rolling, it picks up more and more snow, right? It gets bigger and faster until it's this absolute unstoppable force. That, my friends, is compound interest. And getting your head around that idea, well, that's the whole game.
And on that mountain, there are 3 very specific points where that snowball just picks up a crazy amount of momentum. I'm talking points where your financial life is literally never the same again. So we're gonna break down these 3 huge milestones. First, building the foundation at $100,000. Then, hitting that crucial tipping point at around $650,000. And finally, the total transformation at $1 million.
All right, let's dive into milestone 1, the first $100,000. And I gotta be honest with you, believe it or not, this is the hardest part of everything. This is the financial bedrock. It's where you put in all the sweat, all the heavy lifting, just to get that little snowball to start rolling.
Now, check out this timeline, because this is really important. Let's say you invest just $500 a month, totally doable for a lot of people, and you get a pretty standard 7% return. It still takes nearly 8 years to hit that first milestone. 8! I mean, that can feel like an absolute eternity, right? And you can see why so many people get discouraged and just think, this isn't working.
And here is exactly why it feels so slow. Just look at this breakdown. Of your first 100 grand, nearly half of it, like $46,000, is money that you personally put in from your paycheck. Your investment growth is just a little bit more than that. See? In the beginning, you are doing almost all the work. Compound interest is still kind of stretching, warming up. But, and this is a huge but, if you can get to this point, you absolutely have to stop and celebrate. Seriously. Because you are officially done with the most difficult, the most frustrating, the most brutal part of this entire journey. You've laid the foundation. The hard part is over.
So let's just recap that. That first $100,000, it took nearly 8 long years. Just burn that number into your brain, because what I'm about to show you next is where things get, well, they get really, really interesting.
So how long to get the next 100,000? To double your money and hit 200K? It takes only 5 more years. Let that sink in for a second. 8 years for the first 100,000 and only 5 for the second. This is it. This is that moment where you can actually feel the snowball starting to pick up speed.
Okay, so let's fast forward to our next huge milestone and see how this thing just keeps accelerating. This is what I call the tipping point, and it happens right around $650,000. And this is where the numbers on a screen stop being just numbers and start turning into real, tangible, life-altering freedom. Now, look at this number right here, $52,000, okay? This isn't your salary, it's not some one-time bonus. No, it's something way, way more powerful.
So what is it? That 52 grand represents the potential passive income your investments could be kicking off every single year. Think about it. With a portfolio this size, earning a pretty reasonable 8% return, your money is now making you serious cash, all by itself, whether you get out of bed in the morning or not.
Now, just to put that into perspective, let's compare that potential passive income to the median US household income. Now, it's not a full replacement just yet, right? But you are now generating a very significant income without having to lift a finger. Can you imagine how that feels? The fear of total financial ruin, it just shrinks dramatically.
So this is the really crucial part. What does this milestone actually unlock for you?
Well, all of a sudden losing your job goes from being a catastrophe to just an inconvenience. You have the freedom to take that calculated risk to finally start that business you've been dreaming about. Or maybe it's the security to switch to a career you're actually passionate about, even if it pays less. It's all about having real choices. It's about designing your life on your terms. And that brings us to the final milestone.
the big one. But getting to $1 million, it's not just about the number. It's about a complete and total psychological transformation. It's about finally achieving what we could call the $1 million mindset.
When you finally cross that seven-figure line, which in our little example happens around year 29, you just feel this incredible sense of validation. You've proven to yourself that the system works. But here's the secret most people don't get. Hitting $1 million isn't the finish line. No way. It's the start of a whole new race.
You know, this quote just nails it perfectly. Think of hitting your first $1 million like graduating from college. It's a huge accomplishment, right? Something to be incredibly proud of. But it's also the launch pad for everything that comes after. And this is where the math just gets, it's almost ridiculous how much it works in your favor. Okay, look, to get your second $1 million, your portfolio has to grow 100%. It has to double. Makes sense. But to get your third $1 million, it only needs to grow by 50%. And the fourth, a mere 33% bump. Every single $1 million after that gets easier and faster to hit. So at this point, your financial snowball isn't a snowball anymore. It's a full-blown avalanche. It's a seemingly unstoppable force. But what happens when that unstoppable force runs into an obstacle? Because I know what some of you are probably thinking right now. What about a market crash? What happens if everything just tanks? And look, that's a totally legitimate fear. We all see the scary headlines. Does a big crash just wipe out all this amazing progress? Well, for a short-term gambler, yeah, it's bad. But for a long-term investor, which is what you are, the answer is a loud, resounding no. In fact, and this might sound crazy, market downturns actually help you build wealth faster. Think about it. When prices drop, every single dollar you invest buys more shares. You're buying your favorite assets on sale. And when the market eventually recovers, and historically it always has, all those extra shares you scooped up for cheap become incredibly valuable. So let's just recap this whole journey real quick. At 100 grand, you build the foundation. That's the hard part. At 650, your money starts generating a truly life-changing income. And at 1 million, well, that's when your wealth snowball becomes a truly unstoppable force. Look, this whole process, it definitely requires more patience than our instant gratification world likes to admit. But these 3 milestones aren't magic. They're not a get-rich-quick scheme. They are literally baked into the core principles of investing. The math just doesn't lie. So I'm just going to leave you with this one final question. The time is going to pass anyway. So 29 years from now, are you going to be looking back and thanking the person you are today for getting started? Or are you going to be sitting there wondering what could have been? The choice, as always, is yours.